Hey everybody, it's Julie, Kansas City girl in a Colorado world. Today is Saturday, January 22nd of 2022, and it has been a good 2 months since my last video, which is way longer than I would typically go. This is Flosstube number 90, and my last one was mid-November. So I can't even get into all of it. Just a lot going on. Of course, there were 2 holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Traveling. My family has had some struggles, and then to top it all off, there was a terrible fire in my hometown. Not my hometown that I grew up in, the town I live in now. So I can't go into it all, but I think something like over 900 houses were completely destroyed by this fire. My house is fine. The fire came to within about 2 blocks of my home, but my home is fine. And as you can see, all of my stuff is fine. But there's been a lot going on. And I just was not in a headspace to film by any means. So all of that to say, I have a lot of stuff that I need to show. So to try to keep this brief, I just cut out haul. I'm not gonna, I don't even remember what I have bought in the last 2 months. So I'm just going to show you what I've been stitching on, what I finished. And then I hopefully will talk about books at the end. But as you can imagine, I have read a lot of books in 2 months. So I'm going to try to do like a rapid fire, like 2-sentence review of all the books I've read. That'll be at the end though. So yeah, I'm going to try to kind of move through quickly because there is a lot. So the first thing I want to show is a new pattern that I have designed before I show previous finishes. I wanted to show you guys, or you all, that I like, seriously, my brain is like mush. I don't even, this was before Christmas, a couple days before Christmas, that I designed, or that I released this pattern. This is from my design company, which is Hemlock Rye Stitchery. I will link it down below. You can get my patterns on Gumroad, which is a pay what you want model where you can enter the price that you wish to pay for the pattern, which can be $0 or free or whatever you would like. This was a really quick, fun stitch that I wanted to do for the holidays. I've had this floating around in my head for, I don't know, probably a year. And I finally like sat down, charted it out, and then stitched it. And I actually stitched it twice. It's a really quick stitch. So this is called Little Women. This is in reference to the novel Little Women, which is one of my favorite novels to read, especially around Christmas time. It is not a Christmas book, but opens at Christmas time and heavily features winter, snow, and Christmas, and it just gives me those warm, fuzzy Christmas feelings, and I reread it and watch it every Christmas. So this is called Little Women, and this, like I said, I stitched twice, but here is the first version. This is on a 40 count Picture This Plus linen in the color Wren, and it just uses 3 colors of DMC, one being DMC 310 black, and then a red and a green, which I don't recall off the top of my head. And I finished this as a simple, like, flat ornament with some red cording trim. And it says Megan, Joe, and Beth, and Amy. This is a play on some t-shirts that have been, well, I've seen as t-shirts. I'm sure you could get them as like prints or other forms, but like tote bags, but I've seen as t-shirts this play on like popular characters from novels. So the formatting of this, you know, Megan, Joe, and Beth and Amy, I've seen before, but not specifically with Little Women. But this idea randomly came to me, and I wanted to make it a pattern, and I did. So I also stitched it on 32 count linen from Fortnite Fabrics, and this is, I believe, the color Grandma's Stuffing. And so you can see like 40 count versus 32 count. It's obviously a little bigger. Whoops. Same DMC colors, but a different tone of fabric, and obviously a larger way. So I finished this one as a cute little stuffed pillow, again with cording trim. Yeah, that's about I don't know what else to say about these. So if you are interested, again, you can get these on my Hemlock and Rye Gumroad for free, or pay what you want. So that's what I finished, or what I created since last video. What did I finish? Well, first I want to show you previous finishes, because I think that's the format I usually do. So all through 2021, it's 2022 now, but all through 2021, at every Flosstube, I have been showing what I had finished about a year ago, just kind of like a year in review of what I finished in 2020, because I finished so many things. So this is the last of that, what I finished in November and December of 2020. So unfortunately, some of these are not fully finished, which to me is actually really embarrassing, because I usually fully finish my stitching like right away. But for some reason, a couple of these I just never got to. So the first thing I had finished was a bookmark from Rovaris, and it is called Obstinate Headstrong Girl. This is from Jane Austen, Pride and Prejudice. And I have not fully finished this. I finished the stitching. It shouldn't be hard at all to fully finish. I just haven't sat down and done it. So this was a kit. So this fabric came with it. I did have to pull my own DMC, which was just 3 colors. So finished that like November 2020. I'm looking to see what else I finished. So a year ago around the holidays, I had finished my own Hemlock and Rye Stitchery design, a trio of patterns celebrating the holidays. The first one was Make the Yuletide Gay, and this is stitched with DMC Etoile, so it's sparkly. I can't remember the fabric off the top of my head. I think it was Picture This Plus 32 count. Is it Gothic? I think it might be called Gothic. It's like a dark navy with a slight purple tint to it. And I finished these as small pillows. And I got this really fun trim at, I think it was from Joann's. So there was that one. And then I did Don We Now Our Gay Apparel. And again, these are on my Gumroad if anybody wants to grab those and stitch those. The holidays are over, but you know, maybe you really want those. And the last one was Gay Happy Meetings. So, I guess I should, let me go back. This says Make the Yuletide Gay, in case anyone can't read that. And this says Don We Now Our Gay Apparel. And this one says Holiday Greetings and Gay Happy Meetings. These were super, super fun to design and super fun to stitch. And finish. So what else do we have? I'm referring to my list because there were quite a few. So this was a gift, so I will insert a picture. I finished the Mill Hill Toyland Sleigh, which was just a small like ornament kit. And then another gift, this was from It was from one of the UK magazines, and I don't remember if it was Cross Stitcher, one of the others, and I don't have the issue in front of me. But this was a series, I think there were 4, and I just stitched the one so far. I wanted to stitch the others, I just haven't gotten around to it. And this was by Doreen Jones, and it is called Fashionably Festive, and I really loved how this one turned out, but it was a gift for my sister, so I don't have it with me. And then I was really into the holiday stitching last year, if you can't tell. And by last year, I mean, not 2021, but 2020. So I finished Brenda Gervais, Mary and Minty. This was a freebie that she had given or released around December 2020. And I finished it as a little pillow. I think this is 32 count Picture This Plus relic fabric. I finished, I love this one. So this is from Park Hopper Bart, who also has a Gumroad page. And this was Bah Humbug. This is a 28 count linen from Nikki's Creations. It's a gingham, and then she like coffee tea dyes it. And I stitched this with Sulky, 4 colors of Sulky floss. And I finished this as a little pillow ornament. That was a really fun quick stitch. I finished Mill Hill Books and Buttons, which are the bigger Mill Hills. They're like 6 inches by 6 inches. They're not ornaments, they're meant to be framed. And this one is the Bookseller. And I got this shadow box frame, I think at Michael's. And it's just a 6, nope, I lied. It's right on the back. It's from IKEA. And it's a 5.5 inch frame, so I guess I was wrong about the 6 inch. But anyway, this is a shadow box frame from IKEA that I must have had sitting around my house forever, and it fit perfectly. So there is, hopefully you can see that without too much glare. That is the Bookseller by Mill Hill. And then I finished, I'm just so excited to like see all these again. From Whistle Stop Stitcher, Jen, I did the Christmas alphabet sampler, and I made this into a cute little pillow. I used a DMC variegated floss. They have 2 colors that are like Christmassy, and this one there's one that's a little darker. It has more like almost dark green black. This was the lighter version. But I finished this as a cute little pillow to display. That's the Christmas alphabet sampler. And then my final finish for 2020 was Victorian Sampler Woodland Babies. This was a chart featuring 3 little ornaments, and I had the floss pack, which came with the I think it was mostly like Gentle Arts, and it came with the beads. So they're really, really cute, and they were really quick stitches. So there's a little raccoon. Oh, and I also bought the tart. It came with a tart pack. And so I bought the tart pack as well and finished them that way. But there is this little raccoon. And I can't remember what fabric this is. It was something in stash. I'm pretty sure it was a 32 count. Like if you did it on a 32 count, it would fit in these. Little bunny. These were really cute and really fun to stitch. And then a little chipmunk. I almost said squirrel, but that's a chipmunk. Okay, so those are all of my finishes of 2020. So I think I will just continue this tradition, and through all of my videos in 2022, I will show you my previous finishes from 2021. And so I do have 2 of those to show. Apparently I was like so into the holiday stitching at the beginning of 2021 that I just kept going, and I finished a few more holiday themed. So I finished, oh wait, I missed I missed one when I was showing you my 2021. No, my 2020 finishes. I missed one. This is Shepherd's Bush, Merrily, I think it's called Merrily Bee. And it was a kit. It came with the fabric, the floss, the silk ribbon, and the beads. Like, it came with everything except for the backing fabric, which I just got from my stash. But this came with like the silk pack and the beads and everything. So this was a really, really cute kit and really fun to stitch as well. That's by Shepherd's Bush. Okay, so what I finished in January of 2021 was from the Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher Winter 2020 issue. I stitched the Heart and Hand Winter Cardinal Etching. And I changed the colors after I saw a few other people do this. So the original, which I don't have it here with me, but the original chart was on just like a nice beigey, like aged linen, and I think it was a red cardinal, and then the trees were brown. So I saw someone else had done this, and I totally copied and inverted the colors, because especially here in Colorado, we have aspen and birch trees, which are these white trees, and I like the way it looked. So I changed the colors on this, and it turned out really, really cute, but it's just one of those that I just didn't get around to finishing. And I really need to. And then the last, well, not the last thing, but the last thing I have to show for previous finish is I finished Winter Witches. I almost said wishes. Winter Witches by Bendy Stitchy Designs. And this is, it was like, the fabric was an Under the Sea, like ornament pack, and I can't remember what the color was called, but it's got sparkles in it, and it's I believe an 18 count, and I used some of the called for, but I didn't have some of them, so I just used things from stash. But I think like all the DMC is the called for, and I just changed a couple of the like color and cottons, which I had some of them, but I didn't have all of them. It turned out really cute, and I need to finish this. So those were my previous finishes. Okay, so I've shown you what I designed since last video, what I finished in 2020. Now let me show you what I actually have finished in the last 2 months. So there's some impressive stuff in here, in my humble opinion. The most impressive finish of my life, not just in the last 2 months, but ever. I finished the Modern Folk Embroidery 2021 stitch-along called The Fruit of Plenty, and I did finish it. Sorry, I did finish it in 2021. I finished it in December. So I started and completed a stitch-along on time. Like, I'm shocked. But here she is. She is done. I need to order a frame. This is not a standard frame size, so I do need to order something custom. This is something you guys have watched me stitch on over all of 2021. I fell behind here and there, but I did stick with it, and I did get it finished in the end. Stitched on a 40 count Fortnite Fabrics in the color Caravan Tan, which is a beautiful, beautiful neutral. I absolutely loved stitching on this fabric. It was a really, really nice fabric to stitch on. And I used 2 Valdani silk flosses. One is, they're numbers. So I think one is 0511 and the other was S153, I believe, which was the mossy green. And then I think this was called like a deep blue sea. It's a navy to black. It might be looking more black on your end, but it's a navy. There is variegation in it, which you can see in person, but obviously doesn't show up in pictures. It just looks like a navy blue. The green, I think you can see the variegation pretty nicely. It was really, really nice to stitch with. It was really fun to stitch this, and it's I'm so happy. I am so happy. It is gorgeous. I think that's going to have to be my screen grab for my title block. So there she is. Okay. So by far my biggest finish ever, right? Like, there were so many stitches in that stitch along. Most months it was 4,000 to 5,000 stitches in each section. It was a lot of work. It was a big commitment. I knew if I did not keep up with that, I would never finish that, because not because I don't love it and it's not beautiful, but I just knew like I would never like sit down and get all that stitching done. So I had to keep up with it. I tried not to ever fall more than like a full month behind. And I did keep up more or less, and I did finish it. So I also finished, randomly joined another stitch along in the middle of all that, and I kept up as well with that one. Kind of a newer cross stitch designer called the Laurel Witch, and if I remember I will link below. The Laurel Witch has come out with a couple of cross stitch patterns in this past year, and then announced that they were going to do a Christmas like Advent stitch along, and it was called Merry Witchmas. And they did have like a sneak peek where I think they showed the first 4 or 5, I think the first 4 days of this stitch along, and it looked good enough to me to like commit to the whole thing. And I'm so glad I did, because I really did love stitching this. I loved the designs, the fact that like a little piece was released each day, but it was more or less doable, like a day's worth of stitching. There were a few that were more dense that maybe I had to finish the next day, but I mostly kept right up with this stitch along. And it was free. She offered all 25 of these patterns free on her blog. I believe her intention was to, I don't know if she's done it yet or if it's like at the end of this month, but at some point she was going to pull them down so they were not free, but that she would release them in her store where you could buy the pattern. So I finished all 25. I stitched these on 40 count linen, which I walnut crystal dyed, and I used the called for DMC. And again, this was called Merry Witchmas. So I'm just going to run through these really quick. I have not fully finished these. I will, but I have to do it 25 times, and that's a lot. So, day 1. Okay, this is going to be hard. Let me figure this out. Day 2. Day 3, love this one. Day 4, this one took a while, but isn't it cute? Day 5, I'm just going to keep saying, I love this one. I love this one, but they're so precious. They're so precious. Day 6. Okay. Day 7. This one took a while. I definitely had to, keep working on that one into day 8 to get that one finished. But then she would like give you a break, right? So like day 7, whew, that was a beast. But then look at day 8. It took me like 30 minutes. It was a fast one. Day 9, cute. Day 10, day 11, I love this one. Day 12, also love this one. Day 13, love that. Day 14, which was just an inverse of the other witch. Day 15, this cute little cat. Day 16, I really like this one. It says good tidings. Day 17, love this one. It says Yule potion. Day 18, I think this was Bendy Michelle Garrett. I think she said this was her favorite. I do love this one. Day 19, this beautiful cardinal. This is so pretty. And again, I stitched these on 40 count, so they're itty bitty. You could stitch these on a 32 count and they'd be even I think, better ornament size. Here's day 20. Love that. Day 21. So this was on the solstice. So she did a winter solstice. Very nice. Day 22. Little witches ice skating. So cute. Day 23. Love. Day 24. Amazing. And then the last one, day 25. A beautiful Yule log. So those were the Merry Witchmas Advent Calendar from the Laurel Witch. And then what else did I finish? So I have a few more. I finished from Bendy Stitchy Designs. I finished Hildy at the Apothecary. This was a collaboration she did with Deanna from Darling and Whimsy Designs. And this is on a mystery linen. I think it's a Lugana. It's a 32 count Lugana. I think it's might be from Be Stitch Me. And I think I used all the called for DMC, but on the border she had a Threadworks, which I didn't have, so I just picked something from Stash that had the same kind of feel. And I loved this pattern. Like, it was, as soon as I saw it, I was like, yep, I need that. But I loved stitching it, and I love the design, and I love the Apothecary, and I love Hildy, and I love Deanna, and I love Michelle. I just really love this one. And then the last finish is, okay, Heather, link is my homeboy on Instagram and Flosstube. We decided that we need to do a better job of stitching from the Punch Needle and Primitive Stitcher magazine subscriptions. Like, there's always things I want to stitch in every issue, but I just like don't ever get around to it, like a lot of the time. So we kind of made a pact that we would like stitch at least one thing from every issue, you know, like within a timely fashion of that issue coming out. So when the winter 2021 issue came out, we both decided we wanted to stitch the Barbara Anna pattern in that issue, which was called Dancer. And it ended up being like much bigger than I thought, but I did get it done. This is with the called for DMC, and this is on an old Stash piece of linen. It's from, I don't know where it's from. It's a 28 count. And it's the called for DMC. I'm covering up, like, this was something else I had started and abandoned. So that's why I'm trying to cover that up. This was just really a nice pattern, but really took a lot of time. Like, I was working on it, and I was just like, oh my God, like this is, it's a lot more stitching than maybe you think it's going to be when you first like go into it. So, but I got it done, and it looks great. And it's just DMC. It looks amazing. So that was my other finish. And then I finished one other thing, which I don't have in front of me because it was a gift. And it's not quite cross stitch, but I wanted to show it anyway, because why not? So I finished, I was looking to see if I had, no, I don't have it in front of me. Okay. So I tried my hand at embroidery, and I really, really liked it. It's like, it's just something that I've never paid a lot of attention to, but recently I've kind of been like, you know, kind of checking it out, and I finally like plunged in. I got a kit from Michael's, and it's called Bluebird, and I think the kit was from Leisure Arts, and it came with the stamped fabric, the floss, the needle, and the hoop. So like everything you need to complete it, except for a pair of scissors. And I went ahead and like gave it a whirl, and it was actually really fun. I really enjoyed it. So this was my finish, but it has been gifted. You might see a little more embroidery on this channel. It will still be cross stitch primarily, but embroidery here and there. What I really enjoyed about it was that you see progress much faster, and you get that finish much faster, but it's still that needle and thread, and like the motion is similar. So, yeah, it feels like stitching, but a quicker result. And you can do some really cool things with embroidery. This bluebird I did was just very, very straightforward. Nothing too fancy in there, but I'm excited to try some of those fancier stitches. So those are all the things, right? One last thing I wanted to show really quick. I participated in a Christmas ornament exchange. It was organized by Liz at Elizabeth Ann Can Stitch, and she just had reached out and asked if I wanted to participate, and I said yes. And I've already, I think in last video, I showed what I stitched for Evelyn at Evelyn Across the Pond. But right after that video, I got my package, which I got a package stitched from Sean at Craftivating Creations, who is also in the UK. And she did not make an ornament, but that's okay. She made me a little pillow. So this is what she made for me. And I don't, I think she did post like where she got the pattern, but I can't remember off the top of my head right now. So she made me this cute little pillow. And I had this out, of course, with my Christmas display. What did I work on? I actually don't have as many works in progress whips as you might think, because, you know, my whole month of December was stitching those advents. Like that was basically almost all I worked on that month. So I actually don't have that many. Okay, sorry, I'm back. I had an alarm set on my phone, which I forgot about, and it interrupted my video. So what did I work on? I worked on Mary Morgan's by Fox and Rabbit. This is a stitch along that I'm doing with Noah from Noah's Stitches and Alexis from My Amazing World. This is also known as the Lisa Frank Sal and the Mary Morgan's No Judgment Sal, and anyone is welcome to participate. I just ended up starting it with my 3 friends, and I know a few other people are stitching this as well. And I talked about this like in my last video. This cover photo does not do justice to the colors on this sampler. It is just, oh, it's stunning. So I had done the rose in the center, and then I got a chance to get this back out, and I got more done on the greenery surrounding the rose, and it's just looking so pretty. It's just so gorgeous. This is a 46 count linen from Barbarol Creations called Dijon, which I love. It's just beautiful. It's this like gold aged, I mean, I think it's actually coming up really good on the camera right now. And then as you can see, like the chart photo just doesn't do justice to the colors in this sampler. It's stunning. This is a needle minder from It's Charm School. She made this custom for me for to match Miss Mary. So there was the progress on that. I talked about that a lot in my last video, so trying to be a little more brief this time. Okay. I finally, this was my New Year's start. I wanted like a big special start for New Year's. And I had started this project ages ago, and I hated the fabric I had chosen. So I had abandoned that, but planned to restart it. But it's just been like languishing for years. Like I've had this fully kitted up for over 3 years, and it's a chatelaine. If you know anything about a chatelaine, they're very expensive to kit up. So I'm like, this money is just sitting here. I need to stitch this pattern. So the pattern is the Alpine, let me see, make sure it's okay. The Alpine Garden Mandala, but it's the Outlander edition. So this was a pattern that Martina, or is it Martine, at Chatelaine had designed and then tweaked to be like an Outlander specific edition. The little tweaks she made was she put like a Fraser plaid tartan and the Fraser family motto and like the strawberries from the Ridge. So it's like a whole thing. But anyway, here's a horrible digital rendering of what this will look like. It is, of course, big, ornate, and gorgeous, as all chatelaines are. So I finally restarted this, and this is on a 28 count fabric flare called Historic Green, and I'm much, much, much happier with this fabric. I am almost done with the center. So here's the fabric. It's just a muted, nice, like pistachio kind of green. And this is the center of the pattern. It is a lot of stitching. When I kitted this up, I overlooked one color of silk. And of course, that color is featured smack dab in the middle of the cabin. So these empty spots in the cabin and then this little empty spot over here was the one color I was missing, which has now arrived. So I do actually plan to get that put in ASAP before I put this away again. But yeah, there is my start. All of this down here is over one, and it was something. It was really something. It looks really good, but wow. So yeah, there is, I'm so excited, and I got way further than I ever did on my first attempt. Now that I'm happier with my fabric. I randomly felt an urge to get back out the Tiny Modernist Zodiac Signs. This is a completed stitch along. I jumped in super late. I grabbed it in July because she released the Leo. Ooh, right there. And I just loved it so much. So I bought this in July. I stitched the Leo and then I put it away. Well, I wanted to kind of maybe make this a 2022 stitch along, which I need to get up here. So I got it back out, decided to go ahead and do Capricorn because it was Capricorn season. And then I worked the border up over to Aquarius so that I could start it for Aquarius season, which is now. It is now Aquarius season. However, I ran out of the metallic that I'm using on the border. But I got enough that I can get going. So this is a 14 count Aida that I hand dyed myself, and it is humongous on 14 count, but I don't care because it's gorgeous. So like I said, I had that Leo done, and I only had the circle border around the Leo. So I came down and did all of this. I did all this border. I did the Capricorn section. After I finished that, I came up and did all the border up to the Aquarius section. Some of those are half stitches I still need to cross, but I ran out of this metallic. So the actual signs are stitched with the called for DMC. The border was charted in just 3 colors of DMC. I swapped in DMC Diamant, which is a metallic thread that is easier to work with than the DMC metallics. But is any metallic thread easy to work with? No, I don't believe so. So someone asked me how it was. I said, I would say it's better than stitching with Kreinik. It feels to me similar to like a petite treasure braid. So it's still metallic. It's still going to be a pain, unfortunately, but it is better than the DMC metallics. I will say that. So it's looking amazing, but look how big that is. It's huge. So anyway, this month, into February, I need to get the Aquarius section done. And then the border is quite a lot. I didn't even finish the border down here. It's a lot. So I'm going to chip away at the border as I go. Oh, there it is. It looks phenomenal. But it's going to be a lot of work. I don't know if I'm really going to keep up with that in 2022. We'll see. I stitched on, what else did I work on? Oh, so this has been my work stitching. I started the Witchy Stitcher Death Before Decaf. Now this is a pattern, unfortunately, you cannot get unless you bought her Death Before Decaf special edition box, which I was one of the lucky ones to get. I think she only had 100 and it sold out in like 40 seconds, but I got one and it was so good. It was everything, literally every item in that box was like chef's kiss. This was one of the exclusive patterns. They will be released eventually. Like if you love this pattern, you will be able to get a hold of it. You just can't get it right now. So this is Death Before D-Stash, and I am stitching this with the exclusive color and cotton floss that came in the box. And this is more stitching than I thought. Like it's getting there, but it's definitely like, oh, this is going to take a little longer than I thought. So, but here's where I'm at. I've got the mug all done, and now I'm up at the top, and I'm moving along. So this is a 32 count Fortnite fabric that was dyed exclusively for a box, a Black Needle Society box, I believe. And it's called Fright Night. So I don't think you could get it. It was exclusive to that. It was the Halloween box. It was called Trick or Treat. But it's awesome. Like, I love the fabric and it's looking good. It's trying to wash out when I come in closer. It's just a really pretty orange. And yeah, I'm really happy with how that's coming out, and I can't wait to finish that. So what else did I stitch? Okay, I did get back out the Witchy Stitcher Cryptid Stitch Along, which is almost complete. There's one more creature left. I have not kept up at all, but I did get it out and work on it. So here's where I'm at. I have 4 of them done. This is a 40 count color and cotton fabric of the month, one of the fabric of the months. And I'm just using the called for DMCs. It looks really great. These don't particularly take very long to stitch. I just fell behind. So that is what I'm kind of hopeful that I could like chip away at in 2022. We'll see. So for Betsy Klager, sorry, I know I'm moving kind of fast, but you know, I got a lot. For Betsy Klager's 60th birthday, way back in November, I started Little Birds by Blackbird Designs. This is big. On 40 count, it doesn't fit on a fat quarter. You have to get like a fat half. I'm using the called for colors. And I started in the center and I got not a lot done, but I got a respectable start. And I chose this needle miter. This is Chunk from Goonies. I don't know if Betsy likes the movie Goonies, but it just, this character feels like a Betsy character to me. I think Betsy would be this personality in your friends group. I'm not saying Betsy's a chunk. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying she has that personality. Goofball. So, there's my pitiful little start on that enormous sampler. Okay, so another stitch along that I fell into with Heather at Link Is My Homeboy, and also I believe Michelle from Bindi Stitchy was going to join in as well. This is a Wild Violet cross stitch pattern. It's called Emily Dickinson Birds, and we started this on Emily Dickinson's birthday, which was December 10th, I believe. I'm sorry, I printed this in black and white, so this isn't the best representation of this sampler. This sampler had come out, I think, a good like year ago, and I was like, oh, pretty, like that's really nice. I might stitch that someday. And then I kind of just didn't get around to it. But then Ryan, the designer at Wild Violet Cross Stitch, posted a monochrome version of this. So like the original is, you know, a black and a white, I believe. And she posted, I can't remember if someone had stitched it or if it was like a mock-up, but she posted it where the entire thing was just done in black. And I don't know why, but that version just like called to me even more. I very much like the design as it's originally done with like the white lacy look to it. But when she posted the monochrome, I was just like, yeah, I gotta do that. So I did start that. I didn't get a whole lot done, but I got to start. This is a 40 count mystery fabric, and I'm using a Barbara Creations floss in the color Black Tulip, which is like a purple and black. And I started in the center and started working on that bird. So I didn't get terribly far on it, but I think that was like 1 or 2 nights of stitching. So I didn't get a whole lot done, but I do think in general, it's going to be a pattern that stitches up pretty quick. It's not a big pattern. And once you get the birds done, there's not a ton of stitching there. There's a lot here, but we're getting there. We're almost done. So then I started a stitch along with my friend Victor, Flosstube. I talked him into this one. And then he was like, let's stitch something together. And I was like, how about this pattern? I really want to start it. And then he bought it and stitched it with me. So this is from Meridian Designs. This is Melee or Miley. I guess I don't know how to say that exactly. Somebody out there knows. Somebody out there knows. It's the South China Sea Mermaid. So this is the second in her Mermaid series. And I did start the other one, Christine the Arctic Mermaid. These mermaids are more full figured and mermaids of color. So I really love that she's giving us a little bit more diversity in the fancy mermaids, fancy ladies category. But the colors, I mean, look at these colors. Stunning, gorgeous. So pretty. So I started this on, this is a Bestitch Me fabric. It's from a Halloween box and it's called Haunted. I have no idea if you can get this or if it was like limited edition. And I started in the center. But look how pretty this fabric is. Oh. And I started right there in the center and I'm just plugging away at the seaweed. This needle minder has absolutely nothing to do with the pattern, but it reminded me of Victor. I just had a feeling. I'm like, you're an Eric Northman fan, right? Like, surely. And he was like, oh yeah. Oh yeah. So there is that. I feel like I should really have more done because I think I worked on this for like 3 nights. And now that I'm looking at it, that's like so sad. But it was like a lot of counting and colors in there. So it took a while. Okay. And then, you know, I was just like starting all the stitch alongs, like all the Sals, but like just small ones, like stitch alongs of 1 or 2 other people where I literally was just like, hey, I have that pattern. Do you want to stitch it? And they were like, yeah. And I was like, okay, let's do it. So I this is exactly what happened where I saw Karen from Fox and Rabbit Designs. She was like, yeah, I have this pattern and I want to start it soon. So I messaged her and I was like, me too. And then a friend on Instagram, I don't believe she does videos. Jules Darling is her Instagram handle. And we've chatted back and forth. And then she posted that she wanted to start this. And I was like, okay, let's do a stitch along. So the pattern is Moonstick by the Primitive Needle. And I wanted to stitch it forever. And they just gave me like the nudge to go ahead and finally do it. We are stitching this on the full moon of every month. So we started in December and then we just had a full moon in January. So, and I'm doing like 2 nights on it. So I've done 4 nights on this so far. It's stitching up really fast. I really think it'll be a quick finish. I'm using a 40 count Picture This Plus fabric. I believe the color is Velt. And I just pulled floss from Stash. It's charted with, I believe it's charted with a bunch of silken colors. And I wasn't going to try to track all those down. So I used like color and cotton and just random things I had in Stash. But here's how far I've gotten on this with 4 nights of work. So like I said, it's stitching up really fast. I started in the center and then worked up. So this is the top and the center, and then there's a whole nother part down here. There is like quite a chunk of border up here I need to do. It's about 700 stitches to do that border. But once I get that done, then I can move down to the bottom. I'm loving stitching on this, and I love that it's like minimal commitment. It's like, hey, once a month for a night or 2, get this out. My last work in progress. I fell victim to a stitch along. and by this, I mean a true like mystery year-long stitch along. I'm trying to resist. I'm trying really hard not to commit to stitch alongs. I really am. But this one got me. And this is a Blackwork stitch along, which I've never even done, but I've dove right in. It's by Urban Stitches. It's called That Which Does Not Kill Us. This is a terrible picture, black and white picture of the frame. There's like some dried dead flowers and stuff like in the middle. Which might not be coming. That's not stitched. That's just a prop for the photo. So this I saw like randomly and I was like, ooh, what is that? And I clicked on it and I was like, oh, this is very intriguing. And then I read a little description about it and came to, I don't think it was really clear in the initial description. But the pattern came with like this little like letter. And when I read it, it talked about medicinal and poisonous plants. And I was hoping when I saw the initial announcement that it was going to be like a poisonous plant stitch along. And then after I read this letter, I'm pretty sure that's what it is. So that made me even more excited. So I got a start on this. This is an 18 count Aida from Fiber on a Whim in the color Hazelwood. And I'm using Barbara Creations Black Tulip Floss, which is, I had used in a previous project I showed. It's a black to purple, dark purple to black floss, which might not show up here on camera. I'm not sure if this is showing up quite right. It's a warm green, but there is where I'm at. I've gotten down to the bottom. Still a bit to go, but I've got a decent start on this Blackwork stitch along. And so the border's been released, and then in February we get the first part. I have no idea what it's going to look like. I don't know. I don't care. I think I'm going to like it no matter what. So, okay. That's all my stitching. Just wanted to talk about one little thing for plans, upcoming plans. My birthday is next Saturday, the 29th. And I have picked as my birthday new start, the Nora Corbett Zodiac Signs Aquarius. This is what I'm going to be starting next Saturday. And I'm going to insert a picture of my fabric choice for this because it's a little unusual, but I think it's going to be really good. So I had to go on the fabric viewer and like look for like what kind of fabric would work for this pattern because I wasn't really like sure. This is a 28 count Monaco that I dyed myself. And I know it might seem a little wacky, but I found a fabric in Fabric Viewer that's like this similar tone of fabric, and I was like, oh, I actually really like that. That looks really good. So that's what I'm gonna do. This is a small, like this is smaller than like a typical Mirabilia would be. So this should be, not that it'll be a quick stitch, but I don't think it'll take as long. I know some people have already finished this one. So those are my upcoming plans. So, okay, so that's all the stitching. So if you do not want to hear about books, you can leave now and you won't miss anything. That's all I'm going to talk about, and then I'm going to be done. So, but if you want to hear about books, then let's talk about books. I have read 1 million books in the last 2 months. That's not true, but really it's a lot. I mean, I think I've read like 25. So obviously, if I were to talk about all of those books, we would be here for another hour or two. So I can't do that. So here's what I'm going to do because I have so many. I want to do like a rapid fire, like 2-sentence review if I can help myself, because you know, when I start talking about books, I can get going, but I can't do that this time. So I'm going to try to do just like a super brief. Some of these books I really, really want to talk about a lot more, but there's too many. So part of the reason I've gotten so many was like we had like the Christmas break. I was reading a lot. I've also been listening to a lot of audiobooks, so that has definitely bumped up my book numbers. I also fell into a Kindle Unlimited rabbit hole, which is also causing me to read a lot more. So that there's a lot. Let's run through them, see if I can keep it together. Okay, so the first series I want to talk about is the Ravenhood trilogy by Kate Stewart. I had read the first book already. I talked about that in my last video, but since then I read the second and the third book. I absolutely loved and adored this trilogy, like would reread it. It's on Kindle Unlimited. If you have a Kindle Unlimited subscription, that means it's free for you. If you don't, I think they're very inexpensive as Kindle books. And I want to keep going, but I can't. Okay. Loved this series. If you want like angsty forbidden romance, do it. This is for you. Very steamy, very dirty. Just a warning. In case that's not your cup of tea. There's some explicit scenes in there. Okay, so then I finally read, I'd been meaning to read this forever. I read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. I highly suspected I would love this book, and I did. I loved it. This is a book for people who love books. Okay, I want to talk more about it, but I can't. Okay, so I listened on Audible to a book called Tying the Scot by Jennifer Trethewey. It's a historical romance. It was good. Like, it wasn't like woo, but it was decent enough that I was like, I'll listen to the next one, which was Betting the Scot. Are these covers not hilarious though for these books? So historical romance audiobook, like they were good. They were fine. Okay, so then my Kindle Unlimited rabbit hole. I have been hearing about this author, Penelope Douglas. She writes like super steamy, frequently like taboo romances, like dark romances. And I kept hearing about her and I was like, fine, I want to check her out. So I started with this book called Birthday Girl. And this is an age gap romance, and also an ex-boyfriend's dad is the romance. So it's like taboo and age gap. He's 38, she's 19. It was a little, like, that was a little bit off-putting, a little bit icky, but I think the book handled it really, really well. I really liked it. I will talk about another Penelope Douglas book in a minute, but I liked it. I liked it a lot. I listened to Back in the Burbs by Tracy Wolff and Avery Flynn. I guess it was like a co-writing situation. Wasn't expecting much, and I actually really liked this. This was really good. A little steamy. It was like not a full enemies to lovers, but like they're not enemies, but they get off on the wrong foot and they don't like each other, but then they hook up. It was good. Okay, this book I was really excited about. This is a young adult fantasy. It's by Sasha Payton Smith and it's called The Witch Haven. I was really excited about this one because it was blurbed by Casey McQuiston, who wrote Red, White, and Royal Blue and One Last Stop, which I absolutely loved. So I was hoping that Casey McQuiston would, like, you know, endorsing this would be a good thing. But honestly, this one, it was all right, but really, mostly really boring. I didn't care or connect to any of the characters. It then had the nerve to end on a cliffhanger. It wasn't even a standalone. Like, there's gonna be more. I won't read them. Like, that's how much I like couldn't even bring myself to care. Even though it ended on a cliffhanger, I won't read the next one. I like tossed it. Okay, so then I listened to this book on Audible, and it was so forgettable that I actually had to go read the synopsis, because I was like, I have no recollection of reading this. Like, that's how like mediocre this was. I don't even remember reading it. It is called Heiress Without a Cause by Sarah Ramsey. It's a historical romance. Then I read No, I listen to. So here's where I start my Christmas, right? I started reading and listening to Christmas books, and woo, there's a bunch. There's a bunch to come. So the next one was Christmas Every Day by Beth Morin. This was an Audible Plus. This was, it was actually, I didn't expect much, but I found myself really invested in these characters. So it's like a found family, small town, like finding your tribe, finding your people. And I really enjoyed like getting to know the characters and getting to know all that. What was lacking for me was the actual romance. It didn't actually really happen until the very end. And then at the very end, and I'm talking like the last like 4 pages, like we get a kiss. And then it's the end, and they lived happily ever after. And I was just like, oh, that's it. So, a very PG romance. It was pretty good though. I didn't hate it. Then I read The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. So this was another author I hear, like Penelope Douglas. I hear about Mariana Zapata all the time. And when I hear about her, these books, her books are chunky, like they're big, and they're always slow burn. Like the romance takes a long time to get going, like well past like the halfway mark, but it's very rewarding because you get to know these characters and why they behave the way they do. And then, you know, like they finally get together and anyway, but I've heard a lot of really good things about her books. So I was like, okay, let's give it a go. I loved this book. I really, really love this book, and I cannot wait to read more by Mariana Zapata. It is a slow burn. They don't hook up until like the very last like 20%, but it was still so good. And I loved the way she redeemed like the male love interest, because at the beginning of the book, you're just like, he's such a jerk, and you're just like, there's how is she gonna fall for this guy? Like, he's such a dick. But with her taking the time to like develop the story, like it makes sense. So anyway, really loved it. Will be reading more by this author. Then I read The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. I could not believe I had not read this yet. This is a contemporary romance, enemies to lovers. It's like the OG enemies to lovers contemporary romance. This book came out a few years ago. It was wildly popular. They just made it into a movie. I haven't watched the movie yet. I loved this book. Really witty banter, really steamy, like awesome tension. It was really good. I loved it. I loved the characters. And I think the casting for this movie, which I haven't watched yet, the casting looks phenomenal. Looks perfect. Can't wait to watch it. So then I read a second book by Penelope Douglas, and this book is called Punk 57. And I do want to take just a moment to talk about this one. This wasn't it for me. So here was my problem with this book. Penelope Douglas, this is only the second book I've read by her. As a writer, great, steamy sex scenes, like very explicit, graphic, like dark romance. She's a good writer. Like that's all great. What my problem with this book was, and I just want to warn people, this book is set in high school, and they're 18, but I mean, we are talking like explicit graphic sex scenes, and I can't do that with high schoolers. And like, it's not just like, oh, they're in high school, whatever, like they're having sex like in the school multiple times, and I was just like so just a warning, like if you could have taken that out of the equation, like interesting story, interesting premise, well written, steamy. I just couldn't get over the fact that these were seniors in high school, like banging all over the school. Like, I am a grown-ass woman. I don't want to read that. So there's your warning. Okay, so the next thing I listened to was Truth or Beard, the Winston Brothers series by Penny Reed. This is a series on Audible Plus that you can listen to. And there's a bunch. I think there's like 8 or 9 of them. And went in with pretty low expectations, and I really, really like this. So it's, again, contemporary romance, very steamy, explicit, and a surprise for me. And I can't wait to actually read more in this series. I really enjoyed this. Then I read a novella called Christmas with the Claggans from Holly Hanzo. So this was an author who is actually a cross stitcher, and she had reached out to me last year and said, my first book is going to be published, and it was called Zodiac, and she's like, do you want to read it? I'll send it to you. And so and it's on Kindle Unlimited too. So I read the first one and I actually really enjoyed it. I don't love sci-fi. This is just me personally. Like, sci-fi is not like my jam. I like some of it. Like, when I push myself to read it, I usually enjoy it. But I think what I'm like kind of discovering about myself is like, I don't like spaceship like as a setting. I don't know why. I just don't. So like, I did like the first one. But I loved this novella because they're off the spaceship and they're on the planet, and like it takes place on the planet, and I just like found myself like enjoying it so much more. So it's like nothing against this author or the writing or anything. I think it's just me. Like, I don't like space travel like books. It's just my thing. It's my weird thing. But this one is on the planet, and it's a novella. It was short and sweet. Oh, the male love interest was like just a little cinnamon roll, and it was just really, really cute. And I actually really, really loved this. And the next book, which is not a novella but an actual like book, so the second book in the series, I think she said is coming out like really soon, like February or March maybe. And I will continue reading these, and I've very much enjoyed them, and they are on Kindle Unlimited if you want to check them out. Okay, so then I finally broke down. I finally did it. The Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. I have almost started this series so many times. When Kyle Reckemeyer started this series like 2 years ago, I almost did it. I've resisted. And the only reason I've resisted is because there's like 13 books in this series. That's the only reason. Because I had only heard good things about it. Like, I knew I would like it. I just could not commit to a series that long. But then Amazon Prime came out with the TV show, which I haven't watched yet. I have no idea if it's any good or not. And I finally broke down and I started the series, and it was so good. I loved it. I loved it. Now I got to read 13 of these things. Sorry, I'm trying to find my place on my list. Okay, so back to the Christmas books. I listened to did I listen to or did I read? I don't even remember anymore. This is called Jingle Wars. It's by R. Holmes, and this book was described as Hallmark After Dark, and I agree. It's got a little steam, a little spice, but it's not like super, super, super wacky extreme. Like, but it's got some spice. It's got some steam. But at the end of the day, like, it feels like a Hallmark movie. But I liked it. It was good. And then I read Faking Under the Mistletoe by Ashley Shepherd, and I loved this. This was another one that really surprised me. I kind of went in just expecting like okay, average holiday rom-com. No, I loved it. It was enemies to lovers, like really a workplace, reminiscent of like The Hating Game in a way. But really, like, I loved the characters in this book so much, and it had like a good amount of like steam and spice. So I very much enjoyed that. It was a surprise. That was a surprise for me, but I loved it. I did reread around Christmas my annual reread of Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. What is there to say? I mean, this is a classic. Read it. I love it. I love the movies. I love the book. Then I read The Holiday Swap by Maggie Knox. And this one, I gotta be honest, this was another very Hallmark, very, very, very Hallmarky. And I think what disappointed me the most about this was it was just a little too tame. Like, there's no explicit sex scenes in this. There's a couple like kind of steamy kisses, and that's it. And then like the ending was like everything wrapped up really tidy with a little bow, and I just like, it was fine, but meh. It wasn't for me. Then I read or listened to The Fake Santa Apology Tour by Julie Olivia, and I'll be honest, this is so forgettable that I already forgot it. Like, This was another one I had to look up. I was like, what was that one? So like, it's all right. It did have explicit steamy sex scenes, so that was fun, but not much to write home about. Speaking of explicit steamy sex scenes, my girl Tessa Bailey, I read Window Shopping. This was a book she just released this past Christmas, and Tessa Bailey I had read 2 books by her, and one of them I didn't really love, but I was like, I think maybe it was just this, like, these characters, like the writing seemed pretty good, like let me give her another chance. And then I had read the second book and I did really like it, and I was super intrigued by this one, so I'm so glad I gave her another chance because I loved this book. Although this one's been getting really mixed reviews. Some people either really love it or really don't. I'm in the camp of I really, really loved this book. This will be a keeper for me, a holiday classic, but really steamy, really steamy. Okay, and then I listened to Nick and Noelle's Christmas Playlist by Katie Hall. Really another surprise. I liked it more than I expected. Really cute. Steamy. Okay, this one, you guys are gonna love the cover of this book. This is on Audible Plus, and it's called Getting Schooled by Emma Chase. Look at this cover. Is this not hysterical? Now, I was actually super nervous because I was like, oh my God, here we go. I can't do like high schoolers having sex again, but it's not. It is high school teachers hooking up. No 18 or 19-year-olds. Like, these are like grown ass people. Anyway, this is a second chance romance, and it was steamy and it was really cute. I really liked it. And then I read, now we are going to have to talk about this one for a minute. So this is like a book that's been all over TikTok, and like it's talked about a lot. It's called Den of Vipers by K.A. Knight. And this book is one of those that I knew I would not like it. But it's one of those where it's like, I needed, like, it's almost like a challenge to see if you can read it, because it's so dark and twisted and like completely ridiculous. Super, super dark, like guns, violence, murders. It's reverse harem. So it's this girl hooking up with these 4 dudes. Like, it's just too much. None of that scares me away. I didn't like this book because it was just written really, really badly. So it wasn't like that she's sleeping with these 4 dudes or that like they're stabbing people. Like, that wasn't it. It just was written really, it wasn't written well. So, but I had to read it to say I did, and I did. And guess what? My favorite thing to do after I read this book was to go read the Goodreads reviews. Some of those reviews are hilarious. I think my favorite one was like, it said something like, I need Jesus after this book. Okay, so then I listened to The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle Jensen, which is also on Audible Plus. There are 3 books now, so I've only listened to the first one, but I really, really enjoyed this. So this is a fantasy with it's a little romance, but mostly just like an epic fantasy. And went in with pretty low expectations, but had a really good time. It wasn't like top tier, like amazing, but I had a good time with it. And then the last book to talk about is The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. This was a Kindle Unlimited book. And this one was just okay. Like, I actually really liked the characters. I really liked the premise and the setup. It was a little too PG for me. Like, you know, it was one of those where like it's a little bit like they hook up at the very end and it's kind of like fade to black, and you're kind of like, oh, okay. Like, if you can't tell by now, like with me talking about all these books, like I'm a little bit of a pervert. Like, give me the sex scenes. Like, I want to read it. I want it. I need it. So, the romances that I felt very about were usually the ones that like just were a little too tame and didn't like go there. The exception being Den of Vipers. Den of Vipers went there, but it was still trash. But anyway, that's my book talk. I think I did pretty good. I don't think that took too long. I hope not. I don't know. Thanks for watching. Hopefully I will be back before 2 months, and then we don't have to go through 25 books next time, right? Like, hopefully that'll be the plan. But if you made it this far, as always, thank you so much for sticking around, and I'll see you next time. Bye.